I'm gonna go build my own theme park with blackjack and hookers. In fact, forget the park.
And that is basically what some people have described Babylon 5 as compared to Deep Space Nine. Welcome, everybody, to the next episode here of Discussions Babylon 5. We're going to be looking at the first half of the season. So this is part 1 of season 2. With me are Mike from Pacific 414, Cash Monet from the Phantom Hooligans. There's no the before that. And from Everest Productions, everybody's favorite orca, it's Lord Krit. Evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
And evening, everybody else out there, too. And I see you put into the private chat even more bad news. We've been getting inundated with bad news, just a little bit off topic. Of course, Bob Barker passed away. Now the voice of Harley Quinn has passed away as Mr. Krit, Lord Krit has placed.
It's going to be a sad topic on Pop Talk.
Yeah, I know. It's not it's a sad thing.
I'll be honest, it's not going to be a happy-go-lucky edition of Pop Talk tomorrow.
No, not at all.
We've lost wrestlers, we've watched hosts, we've lost famous voice actresses, and it won't stop.
Yeah, I mean, as that goes, it's like, at least Bob Barker, 99 years. 99 years.
4 months away from turning 100.
Right, exactly. So I trust everybody is having a good day so far. It's been a beautiful day up here in the lower Great White North.
It's been a beautiful day here. I did yard work earlier, and then I did some editing, and now I'm here.
Yeah, I think everybody was doing editing today. So last week, of course, we finished up with season 1, ending, of course, with Chrysalis, leaving us all kind of hanging to what's going on. We had, of course, Sheridan. He had proposed to Saki, and of course, we had situations where Garibaldi was shot, and we don't know exactly what's going to happen. And speaking of not knowing what's happening, something happened with Delenn, and we're all wondering what's going on. So the season opens up. The first episode, Points of Departure, written by J. Michael Jasinski. Basically, a new commander comes to Babylon 5 because mysteriously, Sinclair has been called away from Babylon 5 and placed on a new assignment, being the ambassador to Minbari. and they bring in a new commander who's actually a captain. So along with that also is what repercussions are with that. And in some ways it's a bit of a filler episode because it's kind of having to introduce a new character to the Babylon 5 family, but still a poignant episode. So basically the rundown is a Minbari ship that's been hiding for 12 years now comes out of hiding when they find out that the Star Killer has been assigned to Babylon 5 in defiance to the Minbari because they consider him almost a war criminal because he is the only one to score a kill on a Minbari ship. And it's a sore point. So they're going from somebody that they insisted to be the commander to someone they certainly don't want to be. So with that, we also see General Haig, played by Robert Foxworth, who would later on go on to Babylon 5 as an admiral on there. In kind of the same capacity, except this a little bit more sinister in the DS9 universe. So what do you have to think of, especially with the man who took over the Minbari starship? He kind of looking like Nerporial with a crest on, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be perfectly honest. When I watched this season for the first time, so almost 30 years ago, and not seeing Sinclair, but a new captain take over, it's like, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
I thought we were getting Sinclair, and then you see this new commander, and back then we didn't have the internet like we do today, where we would have been all up in the news. So it was a change. I'm wondering what's going on with the Lynn and
right. And there was some, I was kept on the news. It's like, news came out there that, that O'Hare was leaving and Boxleitner was joining. It's like, whoa, that's kind of a odd, dichotomy. I mean, Bruce Boxleitner, you kind of associate with cowboys and scarecrows. And it's like, well, how's this going to be? And I remember telling somebody that I worked with at the time, I told her that Bruce Boxleitner was going to be joining Babylon 5. She goes, oh, I hope he's wearing his cowboy boots. So he coming in with that type of a reputation. I think it was a little rough. I think his the first few episodes was a little rough, because he was trying to find that character, him and J. Michael Straczynski, because it is definitely a difference between the two of them. And for us with the internet, we had the Lurker's Guide. A bunch of us were always following every bloody week, and sometimes several times a day, because things would be updated to figure out what's going on. What did JMS say here? What's this all going on? Trying to keep up because, well, it was, it was still kind of the early days of the internet,
Mm-hmm.
So not as prominent as we have no Twitter, thank God.
Oh, those were the days.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, there was besides like forums and people talking about stuff, because obviously we had the internet still, but just not no Twitter, no Facebook, no even MySpace at that time.
Nope.
Barely. The internet was just you can make a web page, and because we're in about the mid 90s somewhere, little about there.
94,
yeah. So we're just still starting to write more, or people are starting to write more code and talk about stuff online. But yeah, I mean, if you're probably going to pick it up in a magazine. Oh my gosh, a magazine.
Well, and the big one was Starlog.
Right.
Or you go to a convention, and that's where you would find out all the news.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing when they had their question and answers. They had someone that was behind the scenes coming in there and talking to a producer or whatever and saying, yeah, we got this, we got that. A little bit off topic. I mean, when I saw Jonathan Frakes, when he was announcing that Tasha Pookie Yar was coming back for an episode of Star Trek Next Generation, it's like, oh, really? How's that going to be? Which of course was yesterday's Enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I say Pookie is that was her nickname on the set.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if she liked that particularly much. Of course, even though this didn't really answer any questions from the preceding episode, kind of keeping things kind of in a holding pattern because of having to bring in a new cast member and such. So Delenn is still in her cocoon. Garibaldi's still on life support.
Right.
So it's like it's more focusing on who this new guy is and how is he going to fit in with Babylon 5 being more militaristic than what Sinclair was, who was more probably Zen, for lack of better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Since Phil's not here, but I'll speak for him on this. Is he said that you get to season 2, and Phil always likes to bring up how the sets have gotten better. I'm like, well, dude, I mean, if a show is popular, they're gonna probably get a bigger budget. So, and bringing in Sheridan is it's different than Sinclair. His personality is different, and I would say the show actually got better. I'm not saying Sinclair was bad. I still think he was a strong captain, strong enough. Well, yeah, he was good. But Sheridan just brought in that other energy that you're like, oh man, this show is now going in a much better direction. I feel, and I think a lot of the audience when they and I'm sure probably a number of them saw him in Tron, because of course he was in Tron, and that was definitely a few years before Babylon 5. So they probably already had like, okay, this is a good choice, a very good choice.
Yeah. And I just want to welcome Old Man. And unfortunately, Phil won't be joining us today. He is a little under the weather, so you're just us four today. So I mean, I like Sinclair, and of course, one thing when you get into season 2 has a little bit over 1 is most of the stuff has been built up, so it's just sprucing up now. It's just a little minor changes to uniforms. They added some patches, spruced up the sets a little bit more. The people who are doing the CGI are getting a hang exactly what's going on and having a chance to build up stock to use over. So, I mean, really, the gates are open, and now it's time to really start going into the story.
Yep.
And while this one does not particularly really fit in the overall arc of Babylon 5, in my opinion, like I said, the basic thing was let's introduce Sinclair, who is not a dinosaur.
I get where you're going there. Not the mama.
Yeah, and also this is the first time we see the new Earth Force destroyer, the Agamemnon, which is of course Sheridan's command, or Sinclair's command. I mean, those S's are going to kill me.
Sheridan and Sinclair. Yep.
So what do you really think about this episode? Especially, you have a little bit of those idiosyncrasies. Like Ivanova made it known that she knew served with Sinclair beforehand on Io, and he has this. He has this. When he takes command within the first 24 hours, he's got to make a speech. And at the end, he's making a speech on CNC during his downtime. And nobody's there, but he's still doing his speech because, that's just him. This is tradition. This is, I wouldn't say superstitious, but it's like, I got to do this. I have to do this within 24 hours.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
Well, I think people are just trying to process this stuff.
Trying
Baron.
to
You know,
process.
this is like season 2, but
Mhm.
well, what I can say is that Sheridan, he's always been caring about what's going on already, because
Mhm.
he's obviously a strong captain, and of course this is the hero of the man who helped, was a big part of helping against the Minbari.
Mhm.
Um, so there's that, and they get into that, of course, in
He
season
was
2.
Star
But
Killer.
Star Killer, right?
Yep. Because took out the Black Star.
Yes. But he cares about Garibaldi. He doesn't really know Garibaldi.
Mhm. Right.
He cares about everybody on his crew. I'm trying to remember a lot of this stuff from season 2.
He also cares about protecting the station. He'll do whatever it
Yes, he
takes.
does. Yes,
Mhm.
he does. You know, he's not willing to back down. He's definitely been in a position like this before, because he was on another ship that we talk about too. I like, there's all these connections in Babylon 5, and there's some really good background in there. And season 2 is just overall, to me, way better than season 1. And
Mhm.
but Sheridan, he just adds so much to the show. And you know, he comes in and sees Delenn, and you know, she's still in the cocoon, and then when she comes
Mhm.
out of it, it's like, oh wow. But then, you know, there's, as that happens, then it's like, well, Delenn shouldn't have done this, and it was too soon. Is the Great Council, right? I think it is. Yeah. Minbari. It's the Great Council.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That it is.
Yeah. You know, and I could understand how they feel, like but they're also, it's obvious that there's people even in the Great Council that's jealous of Delenn. You know, in a way, she started becoming a higher power, I would say.
Oh, they're jealous of her position.
Right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Why was she there? And
Right.
kind of, as we kind of learn as we go along, she was kind of a favorite of Ducat, the head of the Great Council.
Yes.
So all across the board.
Mm-hmm.
We also see a new character that they brought into this show.
Mm-hmm.
Lieutenant Warren Keffer,
Mm-hmm.
who is the head of Zeta Squadron, and didn't really have that many episodes in the season because, well, this is one of the few times that Warner Brothers, or Primetime Entertainment Network, stepped in and kind of pushed something down JMS's throat that he didn't particularly like, and that was adding this new, more swashbuckler character, this pilot ace type of character, and Straczynski didn't want him. But okay, fine, we brought it in. And then also from hearing what a lot of the cast members were saying, the guy who played him was a schmuck. He really didn't get along with anybody. Robert Russler, he was not particularly liked by the cast, even more so by Jerry Doyle.
Interesting.
You're talking about the pilot, right?
You are correct,
Keffer.
sir. Yep,
Keffer.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
The guy that's like, he's, yeah, I didn't like that character. He was kind of just there,
Right.
in my opinion.
Yeah, basically, let's be honest. JMS kind of just wrote him like he was phoning it in because, again, he didn't like the character. He didn't like the fact that he was forced to have this character. So he just did, just the right amount of lip service to keep the heads of Warner Brothers happy. But there's going to be more of him as we go along with the season, particularly the last episode. We don't want to ruin that.
I think Keffer was the beta version of Alan.
Well, Zach Allen also comes in this season too. So he comes in. He kind of takes over for Lou, being kind of a trusted confidant. If you remember old Lou Welch, which I'm sad that they never brought him, kept him around. So yeah,
It's a shame.
What now?
I said it's a shame.
Yeah, it's a shame. I like Lou. Yeah, Lou was a great character, I thought. But oh well. But we got Zach coming in. I don't know if they had plans for him to expand what he was, but he was able to do so. Jeff Conaway, of course, who has passed away also now, sadly. But of course, before that, he was known for his role on Taxi.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Mm-hmm. He was a struggling actor on there. So, thoughts and opinions about this episode before we go on to the next one.
I thought it was pretty decent. I mean, you're still trying to figure out what's going on in season 2. You're getting little hints here and there about what's going on, especially in these first 2 episodes, but we haven't gotten to the meat of the whole season yet.
Right. Yeah, it just started. They just popped the lid off that bottle of beer, so now's the time to start drinking it.
Mm-hmm.
And that will happen with this next episode called Revelations. Jakar finds out about a new enemy. And people don't know what to do. Dr. Franklin's going to do something to try to bring Garibaldi out of his coma. We're going to find out exactly what happened to Dylan. And if that's not enough, boys and girls, Sheridan's sister comes to visit.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about a full book. And we find out, of course, that Sheridan Sheridan was married before. His wife Anna died 2 years before on a mysterious expedition on the Icarus, going to some planet way out where. The cocoon opens up and the Lynn looks mighty different. In fact, to such a point that these opening titles, unlike the first one, had the actors' images on screen. So when they came to Mia Furlong for Dylan, they were using, for the first couple episodes, her done up as full Minbari, as not to hide the secret of what was happening. Subsequent reruns, though, they changed it to where it's her without with the hair and all that, because okay, it's out of the bag, people know. But back at that time, we didn't know what the hell was going on with Dylan. And what was was she going to come out and be some sort of monster or what?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And
was she going to come out and be a butterfly?
I mean, right, I would think after this happened and Dylan comes out into more of a human form, that I think it just really upset the Great Council, because she's becoming. That's why I said before, like in some ways, a higher power.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when we're trying to still figure out what the hell the Vorlons are. So
right.
And we of course see when it opens up, of course we see the Narn getting slaughtered left and right by these mysterious ships that we've already seen in the first season, which Jakar brings out of his religion about these creatures that were on Narn 1,000 years before, and is one of the reasons why they don't have telepaths.
Yeah, I mean, Jakar is the only one that survives the attack. And you're watching the attack commence, and you hear one of the Narn say, we're gonna fight, but they want to make sure that Jakar gets back, and he does get back, and he's frightened.
And rightly so. Rightly so. And of course, Babylon 5 did the one thing that really irks me with a lot of TV shows. They introduce Sheridan's sister, and we never see her again. Hardly even hear a peep about her again afterwards. Especially with everything that was going down as the series went along, you never heard about his sister really again, which you think would be kind of.
He only cared about his dad.
Yeah, and rightly so. I mean, his dad's a very important person, but you figure in his life, you figure though that his sister would also be along with that, or her concern about the dad, or something. So it was sad that she would never come back. But we also find out that it was her that introduced Sheridan to his wife. And of course, he's kind of having a little moment there, how he explains, how they always ended their conversation. The last conversation he had with her, he didn't say, "I love you." And that's been bothering him this whole time.
Yeah, and his sister gives him a pep talk. A little kick in the butt.
Something that needs. But we all need now and then. Yeah.
But yeah, I understand, Baron. It's annoying when like you see a character and then they don't do anything else with it. It's like, no, I like this character. Where'd it go?
Right, exactly. Just want to say hi to Leia Rose. Welcome to the mess. And then we see something return that we had last season, and that was the machine that siphons life to give others life, the execution device. And Franklin is planning on using it to bring good old Garibaldi back out of his coma. And Sheridan won't hear anything about it. It's like, no, I'll do it. I'm the captain. But you don't. He doesn't know who Garibaldi is. But yeah, he's making that effort, making that sacrifice to try to get him out of that coma.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be an interesting situation for a new commander to come upon, and his chief medical officer is more than willing to make some sacrifice to help bring Garibaldi back, but Sheridan feels, no, I'm the commander of this station. It's my responsibility. I'll take the chance. And
now, an interesting note: if the cast was the same as they were in the pilot, the first officer, Laurel, would have been the one actually that shot Garibaldi. And even in that first movie, The Gathering, when that Del Varner character comes on there, the access code he has to get going around, it identifies quickly on screen, it's hers. So she is was involved somehow with this. Obviously, she didn't come back, and that role got changed over to Garibaldi's assistant. Makes you wonder
what could have been.
Right. Oh, I'm supposed to watch my back. I always watch my back. So your thought about this episode is unlike the other one that's now starting to take off. We're starting to get a little bit more back into the overall story arc.
I think it's a great episode. We're learning more about Sheridan in this episode, and we're learning at what lengths Dr. Franklin's willing to go to help Garibaldi recover, and but we're also getting one of the layers peeled back a little bit, just a little bit,
and we need that. We need those. Okay, so we're going to move on then to our, unless anybody about has anything else to say, the caches and the crits.
Not really.
No. Okay.
Mike covered it.
Mike covered. Dang that, Mike. So we're gonna go, and the only thing I can say about this next episode is: are you green or are you purple? It's geometry of shadows, and this one brings in a new faction that would come into play actually more in the spin-off series Crusade, but it's the Technomages. And the head of the Technomages, who's Elric, is Michael and Sarah. That's known as for being Kang in Star Trek, the original series. And of course, DS9 brought him back. And Voyager too, for that matter. Yeah. And amongst all sorts of roles, he was Killer Kane in Buck Rogers, the TV show, and was married to Barbara Eden. So yeah, he was a classic actor throughout.
Is this the episode where Claudia Christian's leg's broken?
Yes. Mm-hmm. This is that episode because of the Drazi. Every 5 years, the Drazis have what would you say, kind of an election, and they pull out randomly colors, and it's green or purple, and they fight that contest until the dominant people win which color. So it's are you going to be green or are you going to be purple?
There's even a point in this episode where one of them says to Ivanova, you can help us push them out of the airlock. Get rid of them.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I mean, right down to let's kill them. I mean, we don't care. It's a free for all. It's like the Purge.
Yeah, and one of the things I liked about this episode, guys, was the fact that they do mention what's the difference fighting for the purple cloth or the green cloth between fighting for your flag. They basically say it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I liked about it. It's, your patriotism. You want to win, don't you? You want to fight for your flag, don't you? Your color, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And along that too, we have more of the political ramifications and other. This is obviously political back and forth. Of course, Ivanova's been promoted, so she's not lieutenant commander. She is full commander now, and of course, this is her first diplomatic assignment. But of course, you have Elric of the Technomages, and Londo is playing them between him and Sheridan.
Mm-hmm. And what does he find out? You don't mess with a Klingon.
Right, exactly. They both find out exactly what's going on. Yeah, it's like, I see a great hand reaching out of the sky. Yeah, that little thing is like, my followers, your victims. What a great actor he was. What a great actor.
He was.
And that great voice that he had on there. Of course, the name Elric came from Michael Moorcock's Elric sagas. They wrote his books on that one. We also learned that the Emperor's son, it's a sad case. His son died, his only child, in a boating accident. Somehow he drowned. And his personal guard were able to find him in the water. So stuff that's been going on and behind the scenes, even on Centauri Prime.
Yeah, it just goes to show, things happen on Earth that aren't up to snuff, just like they are in the other worlds in the Babylon 5 universe.
Mm-hmm.
There's all these inner conflicts that one of the things I really like about Babylon 5, because that would make sense. Why wouldn't there be these inner conflicts with aliens and humans and things that they're going?
Well, I think conflict's natural.
It is, yeah,
right.
And it's good to see that in a show like this, and it would make sense considering you have the aliens and these different races, and they're all on Babylon 5, because that's where they're like the meeting places for peace, as they said. But as we know, peace can come at a price.
Well, yes, always. Always. Any other thoughts about this episode?
Well, I just think it was a good character growth for Ivanova as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And, what a, Claudia Christian, great in that role. Okay, so we're going to go past that. We're going to go to the next one now, A Distant Star. And an old friend of Sheridan's comes to Babylon 5, and he's got one of these rare starships out there, the Explorer, the Cortez, and whose jobs are to go out and basically set up, beyond where we've been, set up hyperspace routes, be basically the explorers. And the reason why, of course, the ship's so big is because it's construction, exploration, everything across the board. And so, but his friend comes on, who's the captain of it, and happens to have an accident in hyperspace, and they have to try to rescue him along the way. And of course, when we're talking about the cowboy boots, his friend is the one that has the cowboy boots.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you have Garibaldi and his special dinners. And Dr. Franklin offers those advices to, have a little bit more of a healthy meal.
Yeah, that was a running theme in this episode, not just with Garibaldi, but also with Sheridan and Ivanova.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I'm trying to remember which one it was. I can't remember. I think I might have bypassed one, but I don't know if it was this episode or the episode before, is where Garibaldi was sitting in his bunk, plugging his PPG, the battery pack, in and out of it, and the bed. And Sheridan comes by and gives him that little pep talk. And JMS made it known that, Garibaldi was contemplating suicide. Because, he wakes up, he was shot in the back by his friend. He was, his best friend is gone and left between that. This new guy, and he doesn't know how this guy is going to react to him. For him, it's just like everything's falling apart. Is there any place for me? And I can't remember if it was this one or the other one, myself. But yeah, so you have, basically, this is another one where they were trying to, basically a rescue episode. Again, going a little bit more into the background of Sheridan and letting them, see a little bit how he works, what his way of thinking is, and of course, Garibaldi trying to get his special meal.
Mm-hmm. A meal that his father would make for him because his father didn't really express his love all that much, but he felt that when his father made this meal, it was his dad saying that he loved him.
Right. Exactly. Half a cup of olive oil, a quarter cup of butter, 1 stick, not margarine, 5 cloves of garlic, finely chopped, 6 anchovy fillets, mashed, and black pepper. No wonder why Gold Franklin had a little issue with this one.
Yep. But you know what I made me laugh was the fact that when Garibaldi invites Franklin to come to his place and try his father's recipe, Garibaldi mentions dessert, and Franklin says, "I didn't agree to a dessert." And and just the building of their relationship as comrades and co-workers, fellow officers stationed aboard Babylon 5.
And I just want to say hi to Phil. I hope you're feeling better, man. So, and there's another interesting thing. Of course, the ship is the Cortez, which is his friend is on. And even back then, 1994, people were asking, well, is it a good thing that you called that ship the Cortez, considering what he did with the Native Americans? And JMS basically replies back on this one. He goes, and this is back then, if Cortez had not landed in northern Mexico, do you think it would have remained undiscovered until now? Fact number one, somebody was bound to discover the Americas. Fact number two, any sufficiently advanced civilization or culture will invariably attempt to exploit any civilization or culture not sufficiently advanced to fight back on a level playing field. Blaming explorers for exploring has always seemed to me really kind of silly. Do people really think that if Columbus hadn't landed here, it'd be 1994 and we still wouldn't know the world was round and that this continent was here? It doesn't matter who discovered it. The same results would have come. Somebody had to discover it sooner or later.
Right.
So that's kind of an interesting thing, especially with our cancel culture we got going on today.
Yeah. Cancel culture, if it existed back in 1994 like it does in this day and age, how do you think people would have reacted?
Right. And even back then, you had people already starting that way.
I mean, they were, but people seemed to be more reasonable back then.
Yeah, they were starting to get there, though. Yeah, but they didn't have Twitter.
No, they didn't have Twitter.
No, they did not. Any thoughts any other thoughts on this particular episode? And going once, twice, nobody else. Okay, so we're gonna go to the Long Dark, and this is an episode that was written by Scott Frost, and it has to do with a chronic sleeper who is awakened after about 100 years in space. And there's some sort of evil force that is unleashed on the station. Has a guest appearance by Dwight Schultz.
You know what I was thinking, because I was rewatching this episode today. I was going, we know what a holodeck program Barclay runs. Babylon 5.
Yeah, exactly. This is the Barclay episode. Yeah, this is truly a Barclay episode. And now, to be honest with you, this is one of the episodes when it first came out I really didn't care about. I've grown to like a little bit more since it came out, and I kind of know why, because this was a little bit like a X-Files in space, and I wasn't an X-Files fan. The reason, of course, being that Scott Frost did write for that particular show, as well as Twin Peaks.
Is it Scott Frost or Mark Frost, or?
It's Scott Frost.
Okay.
Frost. Yep. So this is one of the episodes that was not written by JMS himself. So, of course, this one's kind of the same tropish. Lady comes on board. She's the only survivor. Doc and her kind of start hooking up a little bit, and then there's this strange creature running around that Amos, who is played by Dwight Schultz, somehow can sense and feel coming around on board the ship. And actually, the species does have something in common with what would you say, a particular species of villains that will be seen as we go along here.
Yep, and we also find out about Amos's war career. And
yep, I was about to get to that. Yep. And Garibaldi, they want to, people like Garibaldi want to show him some respect, but it sounds Looney Tunes, of course, at first, and then things started getting crazy. It was an all right episode. It's not like this person ran around with a headache and went into some kind of weird dream state like in a certain TNG episode. So.
You're not. Are you talking about Troy?
Yes.
Oh no, that never happened.
When she was flying
Can
around.
anybody hear me?
Yeah.
Paul. Anyways, yeah, but yeah, it wasn't like that. I mean, it was pretty good. It's funny that so you never liked X-Files, huh, Baron? Well,
No, I
don't
was
wanna
never
go
a
on
fan.
okay.
Well, you know,
That's too bad.
well, you know the reason why is because it always ended with never being nothing coming to a conclusion.
Oh, it will. It
Well,
just built up to that. Yeah,
yeah,
X-Files did come to a conclusion, but it just built up to that. Yeah, there was a lot of cliffhangers.
right.
Mhm. And Baron's being attacked by his dogs. So
Yeah, all the animals to be exact. I don't know why. Whenever I start streaming, all the animals have to come in here to be a pain in the ass and make noises and stuff like that. Well, yeah, but you know, it's like you had those episodes of X Files where it's just after a while, it's like I'm tired of it, so I didn't really.
well,
After a while, I didn't watch it. So
that's fine, man. It's just it depends. The whole government conspiracies and things was really cool, and Agent
oh yeah,
Mulder, what happened to us? There was a lot of cool stuff in there. But yeah, I don't want to get off track too much.
and I just want to say hi to the Nerporeal life form, and he must have known we were talking about him earlier. How his computer at Minbari kind of looked a lot like.
He's in that Vorlon suit.
Yeah. Any other thoughts about this particular episodes? Likes, dislikes, things you. Oh, another thing also we learned also is that Garibaldi was a Gropole, also known as ground pounder. So he was stationed on outposts or bases other than being on board a ship. So
yeah, well, he was on Mars before,
mm-hmm.
Right, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, any other thoughts or such for this particular episode?
No.
Yeah,
it was okay.
Yeah,
creature woman has cancer, not cancer. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, we now go to the next one called A Spider in the Web. Talia is caught in a treacherous web of intrigue after she witnesses a murder. We have in this episode guest starring Hamada Adrian Barbeau. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And for those who like things like Archer or I can't remember what the name of the other show that she was on there with that Ron Howard had, but Jessica Walter was on her as a senator. So basically, we find out little things like Talia's first assignment was on Mars Colony, where she was scanning members of the Free Mars movement. Sheridan, we find out, also is a conspiracy buff who likes to go and find information about various black projects and secret organizations. Mm-hmm. And that there's a secret group within the government called Bureau 13. We also learned that, of course, well, we've heard about it before, but San Diego was nuked at some point. So, Cash, time to move.
They always like to destroy some part of California if it's not Independence Day or
San Diego.
Yeah, San Diego. Our Fullerton, which I see on Patrol Live, and keep on lookout for that big guy with the chin. Yeah, there he is.
No, I don't live there.
Yeah, waving his 9-iron.
Yeah, waving the 9-iron.
Maybe a bat. Yeah.
So, I mean, this really wasn't a really big, huge episode, but
it wasn't really one of my favorites.
No. I mean, in some ways, I kind of feel it was a bit of a filler type episode. It was written by Lawrence Tello, who wrote several other episodes also, but it's not something that really steps out and really grabs you, really.
it's just can be hard to remember some of this stuff. It's like this is season 2, so it's like, oh, you got to go back. And Talia, her character was she was fine.
Yeah.
Just as we move into this season, we find out about why Ivanova feels the way she does, if I remember, about Talia, and then the connection that those two end up having, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But most importantly, this episode did have Adrian Barbeau.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. And if I remember right, she was part of the Mars movement, so it's like, hey, I'd follow her. Any thoughts, other thoughts and ideas about this particular episode?
Not really.
Okay. Hearing none, we're going to go to the next episode. This one was written by Peter David, which, people who read, of course, obviously several adaptations or novelizations of Star Trek, comic books across the way, a great comic book writer. He should have written for Star Trek television, but didn't because Paramount's idiots. But this is one of his 2 contributions that he had for Babylon 5. Originally, it was titled Pestilence, Famine, and Death. A particularly fun episode because Londo summons his 3 wives to Babylon 5. And basically, he is given the opportunity to divorce 2 of them. Which he's and of course he calls them basically pestilence, famine, and death. So they're all kind of battling who is going to be the one that stays with him. And it kind of gets to be a bit of a killer, or at least an attempted killer. Jane Carr playing Timov, one of his wives. You also have Matthew Stoner, played by Keith whatever. I'm not whatever. But this guy comes to Talia's life again after being out of her life, basically. So, trying to figure out, did he really leave Psi Corps or not? What is this all about? So, along the way, of course, good old Londo is poisoned, and obviously it's one of the 3 wives that did it, and we know. And of course, his decision on who he keeps is, of course, surprising, especially to the one that she is, the woman he decides. So, and the reasons why. And as it goes, Peter David made it known that Dagar was pestilence, Tamav was famine, and Marial was death.
Well, the one he keeps, it's interesting because the one he decides to keep her because she's honest with him, even though she doesn't really like him, even though they're married.
Right, they didn't like each other. No love lost between them at all. But that's just it. She was the one that was always honest and true. While the other ones, obviously one tried to kill him, and the other one's just her. And of course, it's Jane Carr is the one that is the one he decides to keep. Again, what a shame that they didn't bring her back in some capacity. And I just got to say this if Phil's out there. She did work with Patrick Stewart at one time. So,
oh no,
yeah, I know. So, so she worked with a bald guy, and of course, in the show, she was a bald lady because, as it comes around, it seems like every Centauri woman we find is bald, except for maybe a ponytail.
Yes. Yes, it's very interesting that those women are bald. Yeah, it's funny that they're bald, but it's just that's just their race. They want to look like Sinead O'Connor. I don't know.
They want to look like what's her name from Star Trek: The Motion Picture?
Aaliyah.
Aaliyah.
Yes, Aaliyah. Right? Yeah, she. Yeah. let's follow her into basically the machine. No.
Mm-hmm. And of course, it kind of seems like Jakar may have been a little involved in trying to take out Londo.
Wouldn't be surprising.
No.
No,
You don't
no,
say.
No.
They're not Jakar.
Mm-hmm. Just an interesting note also that Tamov's father was named Agul, which means the demon in Arabic. Of course, we also know him of Ra's al Ghul from Batman series, obviously, as well, too. So, I mean, you can tell that that's Peter David bringing his love of comic books into this writing.
Well, why not?
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was a great writer. He's making great contributions in this episode to Babylon 5 and just adding to its lore.
Right. And, some person asked, how did he get bitch past the censor? He said, I didn't get past the censor. He just wrote it in the script. And of course, we also can see in this that Garibaldi has a bit of course, he's always was hitting on Talia Winters throughout the show. Obviously, they were dating and married at the time, but of course, he was going in there and trying to run interference with Stoner, and she gets mad at him for doing so. Garibaldi is trying to show that trying to be a good guy, and still he gets as they sit back as they never get involved in between a domestic situation. It's the most dangerous thing you can do.
Mm-hmm.
So, which was very interesting and fascinating with that one. Do you gentlemen have any thoughts, any other thoughts or such, or takeaways from this episode?
I like the ending quote from Londo to the one he picks.
Tamov?
I forgot what it was. It was, trying to think.
It was something to do with something that the reason I picked you is something about that you're honest with me, and and she was like, why? If I remember, it was something like that. And he told her why, and she's basically like, huh.
Yeah, kind of gives a new level of their relationship, a lot more where you can see not necessarily but there's respect between the two now. Much more.
Yes.
They know exactly where they're standing with each other.
Yeah.
Wait, I think I have the quote here.
Okay.
It's the because with you, I will always know where I stand.
There you go. Yep. Sounds about right.
Right. And we all need somebody like that in our lives.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, she'll never sugarcoat anything to Londo, ever.
No. I mean, it would have been great if she would. I mean, I know that was what Vera's job was to be in some ways, but to help try to guide Londo towards the light from the darkness he was going to. But it'd been interesting if somewhere along the line that she would have popped up and kind of hit him between the eyes.
Yeah, that's why it's funny to me, you're looking back at this show and see where we are now in a lot of entertainment. It's like, why don't you guys care about good banter? Not, two lines and then they stop talking to each other, or there's not much going on with them in the episode, but actual good banter. And Babylon 5 is definitely an example of a show that has good banter.
Yeah, we have we need to fill up some space. Let's have Technobabble.
Right. That's a good point. I agree, dude. Yes.
Okay. So if no one else has anything more to say about this episode, again, written by Peter David. I can't give enough praise to the guy. I met him a few times. Nice guy. Reading his book, Mr. Sulu Grabbed My Ass, where he does talk about working on Babylon 5 and various other stuff. So it is a nice little thing. The next episode we have is A Race Through Dark Places. Guess who's back, boys and girls? Can you guess?
Mr. Morden? Mr. Morden.
No, not
a certain Bester.
Well, by golly, you must have read my mind. Mm-hmm. Yes, it was. It's Bester's back, and we have a little bit of a problem here on Babylon 5. Something called an underground railroad.
That man is a problem, Baron. You just want to throw Bester out of the airlock most of the time. Yeah.
I think everybody does. I think if Bester had a chance, he'd throw himself out of the airlock. But
I mean, he might, but he's annoying. Then he's interesting. Then he's annoying again. Then he tries to play the good guy. Then he's the bad guy. It's like, no, you're not. I don't really. At least for me personally, I don't like Bester as the character. I find him interesting, but every time I usually see him, I just want to punch him in the mouth.
I think that's the point.
I think it is. Yeah.
Well, which gives kudos to the writing and
yes, I agree.
The acting.
Yes.
I mean, when you have a character you love to hate, and you love seeing the character come on there, but you hate him.
He just anytime he's on screen, I mean, he makes the episode better. I will say that. You know, you can hate him, not hate him, whatever, but yeah, it's just.
I would say he's one of the great characters they have on Babylon 5. That's not a main cast member.
I agree. He adds a lot to the show.
And what's great is they don't overplay him, which would have been easy to do. It would have been easy.
Very easy. Yes.
But it's
I was just gonna say, if they overplayed him, I think the character would have worn out as welcome. People would have been like, who cares?
Right. It's like anytime he showed up, there was something really specific. It wasn't just a throwaway thing. It was something integral. And the machinations around it, the wheels, the gears. And if he didn't have the wheels and gears and just have him show up because he's fan favorite and doing fan service, well, then it would have sucked. I mean, he wasn't in the Road Home animated movie. And it's a good thing, too, because, again, that would have been more fan service and member bearing than actually contributing to the story. Would have been great to see him. Yeah, if there would have been, as they sat back and said, Veer wasn't really in there either. But like JMS says, there wasn't really a place to fit him into the story. We already had a big cast. Future ones will do it, which I can't wait to see what they'll do for future Babylon 5 animates.
We haven't really seen it yet, though.
I have. Yeah. You know what? The schmucks that did Picard season 3 should have watched this before they did that to understand how you do something like this.
Yeah, they should have understand how to bring characters back and bring them back in a situation that fits.
Yeah, and I don't care what sci-fi show it is, what other show it is. It's not right to bring back characters and kill them in stupid ways. And I don't care if it's anime, I don't care if it's a TV show, whatever. It's just cheap writing, in my opinion.
Right. I mean, I have no problem with a character being killed off if it's pertaining to the story, and also it's done in a good way. I mean, how's a good way to die, right? I mean, that sounded bad, but I mean,
exactly.
not having Solo gutted over a bridge and falling by his son. I mean, no, nothing bitch way like that, but something that has meaning to it, even if it's really you take a look at it for being a throwaway death with Tasha Yar, that still has far more meaning and impact.
Yes, It's true.
And you can't really consider that something where she went out on a blaze of glory or anything.
No.
It was showing how evil this entity was.
Yes.
And obviously she paid the price for it. And so going back, obviously we got on the characters dying. We're not looking at that right now, but just having the character like Bester, that is just those villains where you like to go boo and hiss at, just like boo, hiss.
He was your classic villain. Let's be honest, he's your
Yes.
classic villain.
Mm-hmm.
You love to hate him
Mhm.
because like we already established, something interesting is going to happen in the episode.
Why are you here? And it's not going to necessarily be on the surface either. No. It might look like it's something superficial, but no, it's not. There's something deeper to this. And I just want to sit back and say, Koenig was never fired from Star Trek. He was never fired from Star Trek. He was not asked to come. He was not hired on to do the animated series because of budgetaries. But other than that, he was never fired from Star Trek.
Interesting. Yeah, that happens too. They don't have enough money in the budget. They can't bring certain people back.
Right.
Although he did help write an episode of the animated series.
Yeah, that was kind of okay. You're not coming back. We'll let you write. And that was kind of that thing. So he was the first one to write an episode of Star Trek out of the whole lot. So
that's cool.
Mm-hmm. So of course you have this Underground Railroad. Of course, harkening back to obviously analogies of the slaves trying to run north and get free, and various other situations like that. And he's trying to get Talia Winter involved to try to find out, and they're seeing how everything is doing under Babylon 5 and who might actually be kind of behind the whole thing. But more importantly, how they managed to fool Bester.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. Remember, no one telepath can fool Bester. But that's the important thing. No one can do it. One of the interesting things also about this episode is the Psy-Corps officer opposite Bester on Mars at the beginning there. That was played by Judy Levitt, who is Koenig's wife. Actually, I think she passed away now, sadly. But I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. But that was the husband and wife thing there. So you also find an interesting subplot in this episode, but you didn't catch this one. There's a subthread in this episode about lack of sleep. Bester gets Talia out of bed. Talia gets Ivanova out of bed. Ivanova and Sheridan spend the night sacked out in his office. He is in the chair. She's on the couch. So is this kind of a coincidence?
It's just setting up future things to come.
Right, exactly. One of the things also that we're kind of introduced to in this season, and was actually earlier, but didn't even touch on it, but the little cafe that they have, Earhart's, or kind of bar or whatever. That's where a lot of the pilots go. And of course, named after the aviator, Amelia Earhart. And it was basically an unwritten or maybe written rule that the only thing that gets played in that bar is swing music. The hell you say?
Well, I mean, I find that fascinating considering, they named it Earhart, so they're, going back to the 1930s.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of, would you say, throwback, or a lot of pointing, grabbing from various eras of our history, and then bringing it, basically whatever is old is new again type of thing. Almost like, Lucas did with Star Wars. Let's grab here. Where you're seeing where these great writers, such as, Straczynski, Lucas, all these other people. I don't know if you want to call Lucas a great writer, but great world builder. in that stuff, but where there's such a large knowledge of so many different things and being able to bring it together to build.
I mean, Lucas definitely worked on things like Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is considered a classic. So
it is. Yeah.
He has a lot of really good ideas. He's probably still, even at his age, has some really good ideas.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think he'll ever work them out or do anything with them.
No, I don't think so.
You know? And of course,
an era is over with.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we see when you take a look at American Graffiti, you ask yourself. At least I ask myself, George, why didn't you do more of this too? I mean, yeah, Star Wars, but why didn't you do things like this more too?
It's not just Lucas though. It's other people.
Oh, yeah.
Like why do you feel that you missed an opportunity, but they want to do something else? So, but yeah, I agree with you, Baron. You are sometimes these writers, directors are limiting themselves. So.
Yeah, well, yeah. You take a look what we have today with people going out there and doing all this writing and the pablum. And it's like, well, they don't even know the universes they're writing in, least alone anything outside of their 10, 30, 20-year bubble of existence.
Right.
To people like this that have this, dare I say, 2,000 years knowledge, looking back to things all the way to the Roman age, Alexander the Great, all the way up to, World War II, World War I, Vietnam, Korea, all that stuff.
Right.
But I do have a question here for you guys. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Kosh.
Kashu.
Gesundheit. Gesundheit.
Oh, no.
No.
This is the time where we put Baron on stage and we throw tomatoes at him.
No.
That was not me. He did it to himself. He yeeted himself.
He's like, whoops.
It's my joke. Knock, knock.
Well, you were all thinking it. You're all thinking it.
All right, answer my joke. Knock, knock.
Who's here?
Kosh.
Kashu.
Why it's Kosh Money 007.
Okay, you're gone.
No, you got exactly. Boo. Where's my tomatoes? Boo.
Get your tomatoes.
Better. Boo.
The Phantom Bulligan. See, I told you.
Everest Ass Productions with an orca. The orca's gonna eat the people. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, we got to get back on track.
Yeah, might as well. Any other thoughts on this particular episode?
It's good.
It's a decent episode.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, it's great to see. Again, one of the things that made this episode what it was Walter Koenig. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And I think this is Sheridan's first experience with them, and even the playoff between him and Sheridan, and of course Garibaldi. All that. So now we're going to come probably to the first real, true, pivotal episode of Babylon 5 this season. It's called The Coming of Shadows, and right there, which of course is also the name of this season. Each season was named, and The Coming of Shadows was this season's or this book's name. And as you can imagine, we start seeing a little bit more of this mysterious enemy. Not only that, but Babylon 5 is visited by the Centauri Emperor, and his prime minister stays behind on Centauri Prime. Now, Tehran Bey plays the Centauri Emperor, Malachi Throne. If that name rings any bells for you, Commodore Mendez, various voices from the original series as well. I believe he did the opening narration to The Outer Limits, amongst other things. He's playing the Centauri Prime Minister. Funny enough, the Emperor is Emperor Malachi, and the Prime Minister is Tehran. So basically, took each one of the actors and flipped the names to make for the characters. So this episode, all the way across the board, has is a game changer for the story. We have the Centauri, the Centauri Emperor coming on there. Jakar is plotting to assassinate him. Londo and Rifa are plotting and planning on, obviously Centauri things. And there's this strange, mysterious guy, suspicious guy, trying to seek out Garibaldi. So, can we fit all this in 45 minutes of TV? You know what? We can. If J. Michael Straczynski's writing it. This episode, by the way, is the winner of the 1996 Hugo Award for Best Dramatic Presentation. And yes, it is deserving of that. The shooting script was also included in JMS's book on the complete book of script writing. So this is how highly this episode thought of by all those around. Needless to say, we have flashbacks we can think back to the dream of Londo, his death. So where do we want to start with this episode being so big? Should we just go straight into it with the Centauri Emperor?
That's a good place to start.
Okay, so the Centauri Emperor is, of course, on kind of a goodwill tour. He's making his appearance on Babylon 5 because obviously Babylon 5 is the talk of the town, or the galaxy, we should say. And he's got a special speech. He wants to particularly meet the ambassador from Narn, which, of course, gives Chenkar the idea that he is able to kill him, assassinate him. But something happens, and the basically Centauri Emperor suffers a heart attack. He has with him basically his psychic chorus too. The women that are around the Emperor are telepaths, and they leave some behind, and some come along with him, and they're able to communicate back and forth that way, using basically telepathy. And he suffers a heart attack on Babylon 5. Gives Franklin a message to give the Narn. Jakar is all upset because he's mad that the Centauri Emperor is dying before he has a chance to kill him. How dare he? Which is a fun scene to watching him doing that. It's like he's having this hissy fit that I was supposed to kill him.
I wanted to be the one.
Damn his heart. I wonder which heart it was, because they have two.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, what was your take of that as he's going on there? The power plays between just that and the message that the Emperor had to give Jakar.
I'll let Cash or Krit take this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've been right on our coattails this whole damn show.
So, could you repeat the episode?
The Coming of Shadows.
The Coming of Oh, yeah, this is the one with the Emperor. I found it.
You even listen to the show? I have to say this to Cash all the time. Now I see you listen to the show.
You're not saying anything to me.
We gotta process it. We gotta process it.
They hang around each other alone.
No, you go hide in your spirit, Baron.
We gotta process the. No, it was kind of foreboding. The Emperor, he dies, and Londo and Lord Rifa. They use that as an opportunity to deal with more Riva than Jakar or Londo, and they do. Kosh, the Emperor meets with Kosh, and he says, it will all end in fire.
Yeah.
And we get a video. We see Sinclair for the first time in a cameo, and then we see the Rangers. We get the first mention of the Rangers. Though to be honest, I'm not really a fan of the Rangers. I think I don't like the Rangers, but yeah, that's basically what happens. And that was the most jumbled. The Cash Money, it's your turn. Get your
No,
floaties.
you're supposed
Yeah.
to cover it.
Well,
He
here he is.
said
Well, no,
I did
both
cover
of
it.
them.
covered it.
Yeah.
Well, then you're good.
Yeah. He was
Both.
digging himself a hole. Kind of bury him out now. Bury him fully.
Poor
Get your
Baron started trying to
galoshes.
blame me for
Get
something.
your
I'm
Crocs.
going to turn into Bester. I'm going to find out. I'm going to get into Baron's mind and find out what's going on in there.
Well, no,
See how empty it
Get
is.
your
and how
Crocs.
It is
it's
very
Get
empty.
your shoes. Get your
It's very empty in
slippers.
there. It's very empty in there. Trust me.
Get your Londo.
Dude, I will just say this, that the show, any show that brings in a strong villain takes on a good direction, and the Shadows are certainly scary as hell. We'll just say that.
Yes.
They're not they are not something to be messed with, and I mean they literally can obliterate ships with basically like the snap.
Oh
their
wow!
fingers.
I heard that snap.
Yeah, exactly.
Snap your fingers.
So
Oh, that
anytime
was my neck.
that's
oh,
why
that was your neck.
even when Phil was watching that season with us, no, we do not need space cheese. Oh gosh, sure, man. His
Y'all
obsession
live
with
in a
space
place
Jesus.
Hey, Phil, we're not talking about space Jesus yet. Save space Jesus till later.
But it's stuck in his head.
I
You
know.
know, you crank it up and then he starts talking about space Jesus again. But anytime the Shadow Wars are started bringing into any of these episodes, it's scary, and it's supposed to be. J. Michael actually adds that fear factor that you should have in a show about sci-fi conflicts and so on, that there is a presence out there that could be so scary that it could literally obliterate a whole planet. That's scary to think about.
Right. Well, I think what you're seeing here is a bit of anything. This episode here truly is harking to one of his loves, which is the Lensman Saga by E. Doc Smith, where you have these powerful, firstborn aliens, and then you have the Rangers, which are basically like the Lensmen then, where one of the powerful space aliens from before kind of gift things down to help them fight this war. And J. Michael Straczynski made it known that that the Lensman Saga was truly an inspiration, amongst other things, for the series.
Right. And why wouldn't this is, of course, I mean, look at what this episode has, and the user reviews on IMDb I'm looking at right now. I mean, this has a 9.2 out of 10, The Coming of Shadows. So a lot of people really, really like this episode. And
with good reason.
Right. Assassination attempt, the way Jakar feels about what's going on with Centauri. It's just Lord Rifa is an interesting character, of course, and he's always interesting. He's devious and just But you want to hate the Centauri too, but then as this show goes on, we'll get into that later. But
yeah,
it's very interesting. But yeah, of course there would be assassination attempts. Of course, how Jakar feels about Centauri. And the things that they've already done to the Narn.
Right.
Yes, I think that any of us would feel that way.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, you see that with various factions today in the past, all across the board on there. And here the Centauri Emperor is coming to Babylon 5 to offer an official apology to the Narn people. And he drops, of a heart attack. Of course, he doesn't die quite yet. He's in there in the medical wing. He gets to meet a Vorlon for the first time that tells him that it'll all end in fire, and then he gives his last breaths to Londo, where Londo says, he said, take my people back to the stars, which was the lie. It was, you are damned.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, we are damned. He knows what's happening, and not only that, he's a different Centauri, because in the culture, the bigger the hair, the higher of your position.
Right.
But he does not wear his wig. He's humble.
Yeah. Well, what about the whole thing? Where we're getting into more of the conflict, the shadows. You don't. That's like shaking the hand with the devil. And of course, Londo doesn't even understand how horrible this impact is going to be. It's very interesting, and I always feel with any show, any piece of writing where people actually have blood on their hands, and they're like, "Well, what can I do now? Can I don't even realize at the time that I've done such damage to people." And I'm not supposed to be this kind of person, and that's what I've always felt about somebody like Londo. He wants to try to be good, but it's just he ends up having so much blood on his hands.
Yeah, I mean, Londo wants to bring his empire back, the Republic back to its glory.
Right, because he's all about tradition.
Right.
Right.
And he shoved off to Babylon 5, which is considered a dead-end assignment. It's an insult to send him there.
Right. Right.
He doesn't know exactly what he's playing with. He is truly a tragic character. He's getting himself involved in things that he doesn't even know he is. He makes the wrong decisions at the wrong times.
Right. Yes.
And he just one tragedy after another. In many ways, after a while, you want to hate him.
Right.
But you can't help but feel sorry for him.
And those you feel sorry for him, but even when you're dealing with somebody like Morden, who was at the end of the first season, if I remember correctly. I'm trying to, it's been a while.
Was it the first season? The end. Yeah, he was in the first season.
Yes.
He was towards the end of it.
Towards the end. But what can I do to help you? What do you want? It's like those words right there. Like, no, hold on. You need to be careful. You don't know this man, and he just comes out of But the Shadow War is very important, and that's why season 2, in a lot of ways, is so much better than season 1, in my opinion. The shadows are just so, and that's really a tribute to the writing, definitely.
Well, I think what it is where you first season is like, welcome to the universe. I'm sitting down what things are. Now that you know what the universe is about, let's really mess with your heads now. You think you know what this universe is all about?
Right.
Let's you really think you know what this character is all about? Exactly. Yeah, let's have a little talk.
And I think all of our brains here would put in stuff like J. Michael, because that's what we enjoy. The building of characters. Maybe a character gets assassinated, friends turning on each other. These used to be very important in shows.
Right.
And I hope in the future they come back. I really do.
Right. I mean, J. Michael Straczynski made it known that the Jakar Emperor thread, he was inspired by King Arthur and Mordred and their armies being poised.
Very cool. Well, that's a great story. So
right. Exactly. So again, is someone who has again, where you had writers that had a much more encompassing idea of things besides the 20-year bubble and fan fiction. And of course, as we all know that as they're trying to make one last ditch attempt to negotiate, for people who don't know the story of Mordred and King Arthur, they're trying to negotiate. They have peace. Two armies are there, but then a soldier raises his sword to kill a snake, and the other side takes it as, they're about ready to attack, and that's when all hell breaks loose over a snake.
Yep. And definitely a lot of hell is going to continue to break loose.
Oh yeah. It is going big time. I just saw that comment that you had. I wish I could say I feel sorry for you, Cash Monet. I do actually, but one of the great things too is, and we only touched briefly on that, but we had that little cameo. Hello, old friend. of Sinclair, and
Yes.
how great it was to see him again. And of course, for us at that time, without knowing where the story was going at that time, we didn't know. It's like, oh, are we gonna? Is he gonna come back? Is it? Was he taken away because we knew J. Michael Straczynski was doing different things with writing TV? It's like, oh, does that mean he's coming back? We remember what they said in the pilot movie under his last commander, and they're implying it was Sinclair. It's like, oh, does that mean he's coming back and
Right.
Sheridan's going to be moved into another position and this thing's really going to take off?
Yep.
But we'll talk about that next season. But it was great seeing that. And of course, the introduction of the Rangers, which again will play a bigger piece of the game, which of course Lord Krit doesn't like. He hates the Rangers because deep down he is a shadow. That's why he's
that makes sense.
Yeah.
he's a shadow orc.
Explains a lot.
Cash money. What do you want?
Nothing from you. Whenever somebody
Bill
says, "What do you
McCracken,
want?"
if you're in listening, what do you want?
Oh, that's the one you have to be careful about right there.
You know what? I could definitely see Krit as Morton. Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
So
I could see Cash Money as cheap Bruce Willis. So
I don't want to be cheap Bruce Willis. I want to be a better version of Bruce Willis.
And then I can see Monamos as Kosh. I don't know.
he's going to be the Bruce Willis with the dynamic chin.
That's
so
right.
As we come to the end of this episode, we are left with two prominent Centauri dead, the Prime Minister and the Emperor. Someone that they're talking about, a Cartasia, possibly filling in that void, which we'll find out more about. We have Narn going from elation, from planning on dying, killing the Emperor, to being mad at the Emperor's dying without him doing it, to elation that he was going to make an apology to the Narn people, to who knows what now. And then there is the Rangers and Sinclair. It's like all this in 45 minutes of storytelling. Who'd have thought?
The pacing's good.
It's a great pacing.
Pacing was good. I mean, this was good quality television.
It's
back when they wrote good quality television, directed, acted.
It sucked you in. You stayed there. It's like, what's going on? What's going on? What's going? Oh, damn it! Commercial.
Yeah. Well, see, what was a great benefit to watching the show back when it came out was there wasn't a cell phone like we have today. There weren't any smartphones to distract you like there are today.
Yeah, I mean, that's just it. Television's being made for the cell phone watchers. It's like I'm going to be TikToking and tweeting and Instagramming while there's shows on, so I'm not really going to pay attention. But this is the best damn TV show I've ever not seen. Any other last thoughts on this episode? I mean, it's almost a shame to leave.
It's a great episode. Not much to say.
Even with the Rangers, Krit. Even with them.
I mean, I don't care for the Rangers, but when they're introduced, I think the Rangers are just space ninjas.
Well, they're Lensmen. Have you ever read the Lensman series?
Yeah, but I've seen it done better. I didn't feel it. I didn't feel them.
And of course, you can address all complaint letters to Lord Krit in care of. I'm teasing, buddy, but I can understand that. I mean, because it is a theme that's been used. Of course, as it goes, Doc Smith wasn't the first one to come up with that. You want to go all the way back to the Knights of the Round Table and such. These are kind of your elites. So, anybody else has to say anything to say? Going once, twice, not hearing anything. Okay, we're going to go to another episode here. It's not necessarily as ground shaking, but it does get into a little bit more of the character, into one of the characters, particularly Dr. Franklin. It's called Gropos, which we said before stands for ground pounders. And basically, Babylon 5 is a staging point for about 2,500 soldiers going to uh, basically a conflict on the planet Actor. And it's bordering on both Narn and Centauri space. And leading this is General Richard Franklin. Dr. Franklin's father, played by the late, great Paul Winfield. Anyone who doesn't know who he is, Captain Terrell, and I'll let the other ones here say what he's known.
Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra.
There we go.
Toomba,
great actor.
his arms wide.
Great actor again. Went before he died too soon.
Yeah, he did
as well. He was even in that failed pilot movie called White Dwarf, which was an interesting concept. That I think it was Fox that had that. No one really knows about that movie. Yeah, been in so many things. Few appearances on Star Trek, and obviously here he is playing a human on Babylon 5, and more importantly, Franklin's father. Franklin, who is a pacifist, and his father, who is basically a war hawk. And not only do we have that relationship, but Garibaldi and a few of the others start having interactions with these Gropos because they're having to be kind of bunked with various members on the station because they need space for 2,500 people. And so they start getting to know who these people are. It's a 356 is the that is the unit. And so we get to know these people. We see them come in. We see them get into fights, which, let's face it, they're kind of known for. We have Garibaldi almost getting close to getting lucky in here. And then we see what the aftermath of the whole thing is. The episode's written by Larry DiTillo. So this is not a J. Michael Zazinski, but in some ways, it's going to be a little bit of a gut-wrenching episode where you get to know people and you see what their outcome was. Gentlemen?
The Grupos?
Gropos, yes. In fact,
I don't think I watched a lot of this.
Oh, you didn't? Okay. No.
Remember.
Well, you might as well boot me out because my memory on this episode's a little fuzzy.
There was orange. I remember orange juice and then the pilot wasn't a big fan of the Grupos. That's all I remember from this episode.
It was if I remember correctly, we learned obviously more about Franklin and his father and the conflict where he let me see if I remember this correctly. He his dad didn't ever really approve of him because he wanted him to go into the military and he wanted to be a doctor, and his dad never really understood that, and there were a lot of conflicts. Did I get that right, Baron?
Yeah, basically, it was like it was your classic story about father, son,
right.
Intertwining in there about not wanting, being disappointed they didn't go a certain way and not being able to let go, to have them go their own way because they're their own person. That aspect, of course, with the soldiers, you had the Gropos and the pilots having their fight, typical military fashion. The guys on the ground don't like the guys that fly, and vice versa, so they get into a fight. They bond over the fight.
Right, and this is also the episode where Garibaldi likes that woman too. This is before. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. One of the Gropos, and he almost gets lucky with her, but because his hang-up because of
his hang-ups, right? Yeah. With Lease,
But he's but he's hoping that maybe they're hoping that maybe if they come back that way, something can happen.
Right.
And we also learned that Garibaldi's father, Alfredo, served under Franklin during the Delgar War, and
that's right.
And so there's there's some of those connections, which is not forced. It's not one of those things where you feel, oh, this is just forcing this on. It's like, well, yeah, when it comes around to war, you kind of have that situation where, oh, yeah, this person was in and around with this person, at that time, and so on. As the story goes on, of course, basically these are like this is basically your Earth Force Marine Corps. Garibaldi's basically a Marine. These people are your Marines. Of course, then you have the Navy pilots. So we know that whenever those two group of people get together, it's always harmonious. And with the war, just to bring it to the end, we see that everybody that these people that our cast members, our crew members interacted with, were killed in this conflict. At the end, they're going through kind of like almost a MASH moment, where they're taking a look at the names of the dead, and they start seeing the people on there, and they just kind of turn away and walk away, kind of in stunned silence. But Franklin's father is able to stay alive. He's kind of like almost like a Schwarzkopf type, with a Schwarzkopf with a swagger stick. So, being that 2 of the 4 here really don't have, obviously was not that memorable episode there, but it was just good to see Paul Winfield back in here and seeing that dichotomy. Again, this was one of the few episodes that had that Kefir in it. Again, not liked by anybody.
It was. Oh, really? It was. I don't know. It wasn't. I thought it was a good episode, but it was.
Oh yeah,
more
that's a good episode.
Franklin and his father. That stuff was always interesting to me. And yes, it's the typical. The father is upset at the son and doesn't approve of what he decided to do with his life. Yeah, it was good though. But there was good banter. Wow, good banter. I know.
Right. So,
and then with Garibaldi, and then what happened, you're like, oh wow, they actually, well, that's what happens in war. So that people can die, obviously, and
right.
Yeah. So,
but doesn't mean that their story is fully closed yet.
No,
but we won't discuss this anymore, not until we get to the appropriate season on that one. So. Okay, so we'll back out of that one here. Again, it's a good story, not as memorable, not as important. It was more of a character type episode, more than an overall story arc. The overall story arc. So the last episode we'll talk about tonight, we're making it literally halfway here, is All Alone in the Night. And in this episode, good old Sheridan, he's kidnapped when he's out there. And the Grey Council also just come to a decision what they're going to do with this Delenn, especially after she did this thing unsanctioned, becoming half human and half Minbari. We also have General Haig coming back again, played by Robert Foxworth. Marshall Teague is coming in playing a Narn in this episode. He played many characters on Babylon 5. I think he also played several on Star Trek, usually in costume or makeup. Written by Straczynski himself. So in this episode, Sheridan's out. This alien ship comes and kidnaps him. He wakes up in basically a room by himself, and then a Narn is entered in there, and they calms him down, and they realize that here they are. They're held prisoner by this race of creatures called the Streeb. Which J. Michael Straczynski said that, he named them after Whitley Strieber. And they look like your typical gray aliens that were written about in Communion and reported to have been seen, and of course, abducting. We don't know what is, but they're doing all these nasty little tests on them. While this is all going on, Delenn has to go back to Minbar, and basically has to explain herself, you might say, where she's going and what will her status be. So I'll leave. I don't want to be the grandstander. I'll let someone take over. I hear crickets.
We'll let Mike take over this time.
Chin Car.
We'll let Mike take over. Not the Orca boy.
Yeah.
Orca. He already disappointed us once this episode.
I haven't watched this episode in a long time.
What? Not during the whole. Okay. Well, how about you, Chinkar?
Well, if I remember correctly, it's been longer for Mike, I'm sure, than it has been for me. But if I remember, she has to go, Delin, and talk to the Great Council, and they explain her transformation, and that they're jealous of her, they're upset. I'm trying to remember some of this other episode. Of course, Sheridan gets captured by aliens, and if I remember, they probe him for information. Is that right, Baron?
Yeah, they're probing, trying, doing experimentation, all sorts of nasty little things.
Okay, yeah, but if I remember, there's probably another story within this also, besides Delin and.
That's pretty much the two of them. It was basically General Hag coming. Yeah.
One thing that we should probably also do is show pictures of some of these episodes.
Oh, you know what? I think Mr. Lord Krit said that. You know what? I'll do for the next show. I'll have.
It does help.
That is my fault. That is my fault.
It does help a lot. Because it's been a while since, as good as our memories can be as humans.
You see that, folks? They're all turning on me right now. You're hearing them turn on me here on the show. It's like, this is supposed to be stuff for the 5 o'clock meeting that you were seeing.
But, okay, so, just looking at the pictures, okay. So, Sheridan was also fighting with that Narn, and they were supposed to kill each other because these aliens wanted one of them to survive, and I think it's also for their entertainment and studying the humans. They're not it's not cool, we'll say, but Sheridan, the way his attitude is, it's like, look, we can kill each other, or we can try to get out of here together. And personally, I think the second option is better, getting out of here alive together instead of killing each other for the amusement of aliens that we don't need to listen to. Or any kind of race for that would make people do that. And so they have to find a way out of there. I can't remember, because it's been a while. Season 2 has been a while already. I can't remember if who saved Sheridan and that Narn.
Well, it's basically General Hag does. Basically, they're hunting down. I believe they're also using the Agamemnon for that, but they're hunting down, trying to find it. And when they're coming up to the Streeb ship, they start ejecting out the people that they have kidnapped.
Yeah,
but Sinclair, Sheridan, and the Narn happened to get into a escape pod and get out. Luckily, before that, and of course they're all pissed off, and good old Hag decides to blow them all to hell as the estate.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Of course. Well, you have to, and then of course I was right. Okay. So yeah, Delin feels that she needs to do this, and then the Grey Cow, she needed to do this for. I can't remember why Delin decided to. There was some reason Delin decided to go into that cocoon.
Kosh.
Was it Kosh? Okay.
Yeah, remember she and Kosh.
Okay.
Yeah, she and Kosh conversed with each other, and then she wanted to see Sinclair one last time before she did that, but things went down.
Right.
And
Gosh.
And of course, Kosh says you've forgotten something, and it's like, oh my, and then it's like, well,
right.
Wait,
okay, but that didn't, of course, and this is that episode, doesn't, when she's confronted by the Great Council, that doesn't make them happy. Like, you were supposed to do that later. Why did you do this now? What's wrong with you, basically? And you know, but the way Delin is, she's a strong person, and she doesn't put up with anything really.
No.
And she will speak her mind if she has to. And she basically tells the council that I did this because it was the right thing to do, if I remember. And
Right.
they don't appreciate that, but the Great Council they have their problems and their arrogance, and they also may look at her as, inferior because she's a woman. It's possible.
I don't think so. I don't think
you don't think so?
No, that has nothing to do with it. But you have animosity between the warrior caste, which Naroon is part of, and
right.
Of it.
The warrior and the religious caste,
right?
Yes.
Because it was religious caste that stopped the war, and the warrior caste is like, wait a moment, we're winning. It's been a sore point since then. So there's been that internal feud between the two of them. It's like, why did?
But don't you also think it's possible, Baron, that because she is a woman, and some people feel this way even in real life, but that they don't want to listen to her, that some people on the Great Council, and of course they're jealous of her?
I think the jealousy part is not because of that she's a woman, but the fact that she was so young, being part of the Great Council and having Krit's ear,
yes,
10 years ago.
All that, yes,
and of course being ardent, but in the religious caste.
I think that brings up a good point. Do you really think that Minbari women are respected by men in that culture? You do, okay.
Yeah, because you had, I believe you have female Minbari warrior caste, so it just really didn't matter. This is more of a caste thing than it is actually man-woman thing. In fact, that's one thing you never really heard through the show of anything, between man and woman conflict with the Minbari. It was basically the caste.
Yeah, I was just curious what your opinion is on that. So.
No, I don't think it was at all. I think it was the jealousy that she had Krit's ear.
Okay.
Particularly so young, and now she's doing things like on her own, going rogue almost.
Yeah.
But she was taking it off of their ally, the Vorlons, what she did. And so, yeah, she's just rubbed them the wrong way. But she's seeing things from a different viewpoint.
Right.
She's while they're wherever they're at, she's on the firing.
Right, but they're stuck in their ways, the certain ways. This has to be this way. How dare you do this? Blah blah blah. Fine,
Right, and that's the thing that we're looking at here in the battle that we have with that. We have, the old is going away, the new's coming in, and how we're gonna, how is it going to happen? It's an age-old story, and and it's showing that Minbari, even though they think so highly of themselves, are not beneath such petty things.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I would say the Great Council in general is petty about a lot of things. They you break their tradition, you do this, it's just, and when you're in front of it, it's like a judge jury execution in a way. And so, but they just started disrespecting Delin, especially after the whole thing happened and she became more human. If I remember, some of the Great Council was like, you don't even look as that much like a Minbari anymore. You look like basically a filthy human.
Right, exactly. So it's like, oh my, you've tainted yourself. You're not one of us anymore. You're this mongrel, half-breed type of attitude. And also with Naroon coming in there to replace Delin, they have effectively lopsided the Great Council, because it's always with 3 warrior, 3 religious, 3 workers. Well, Delin is off there. They put Naroon, who is part of one of the more militant heads of the warrior caste, the Star Raiders. Now you have 4 warrior caste,
right?
2 religious, 3 worker caste. So now they're not in union. They're not in balance right now.
Right.
So that shows right there that there's problems on Minbar. Everybody's having problems. Everybody.
Yes.
Narn, Centauri, Minbari, Earth, the not-aligned worlds, the various ones, green.
Well, that would make sense even in real life. So
right.
Yeah.
And that's what really makes this so great. It's like, the aliens aren't one-dimensional. Unlike, I hate to say this, Star Trek has a tendency to do.
Right. It's not always a bad thing. It just
No, it's
it would
not.
be nice if they're more well-rounded. We'll say.
Right, exactly. I mean, exactly. And of course, it's different with this show, with J. Michael Straczynski being so involved with the writing and having an actual plan for the all 5 seasons. So, okay. Any other thoughts of All Alone in the Night?
No.
So I figured we're going to end this here. I promise I'll get pictures and stuff like that for the next one. My apologies. I was taken to the woodshed in public and deservingly so. Deservingly so. I was meaning to do that, but I don't know why it slipped my mind. I think it's the drugs. It's the drugs, man. Doing lots of heavy drugs, man. Doing some of that LDS, man. Doing some of that LDS, man. Before we go, though, I'd like to give each one of my panelists here a chance to do a quick spiel, what they have plans, or any other last thoughts on things. I'll go, of course, with my co-host on top here, Mr. Mike from Pacific 414. He's not an error right now.
Ladies.
Well, what's coming up on Pacific 414 will be at 1 p.m. tomorrow, Pacific 414 Pop Talk Sunday edition. We will be talking about 3 people passing. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not going to be your lighthearted episode of Pop Talk, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be talking about former 3-time WWE champion Bray Wyatt passing away a day after we lost wrestling legend Terry Funk.
And so young, too.
Yeah. We're going to be talking about Arlene Sorkin, who was the voice of Harley Quinn, passing away. And come on down. You're the next contestant on The Price is Right. We will be talking about Bob Barker passing away at the age of 99.
Mm-hmm.
And we will also, at least I will, be letting everybody know the status of open panels on Pop Talk in the future.
Excellent.
Plus, on Tuesday, I'll be playing River City Girls 2. That'll be part 1 of the gameplay. And then, of course, Wednesday will be the Wednesday edition of Pop Talk. And then Thursday, it'll either be part 2 of River City Girls 2, or it'll be more Ace Combat 7. We'll see.
Magic missiles.
Ooh, River City Girls 2, yeah.
No, I was going for the
pilot. I have that game also.
You do?
I think so.
Oh, jeez. How did that happen? And if you don't mind, I do want to add one article in which I talked about. I want to follow through with that Starfield stuff.
Okay.
Okay. So, you know what? I'm going to let Lord Krit go next.
Go for it.
Not much. Me and Cash are working on what ifs. We're gonna just grind this next month. I'm trying to get. I don't have work tomorrow, so I might be playing some games. I was trying to get me and Cash. We're gonna do a let's play of SpongeBob, Balfour Bikini Bottom. But my controller weren't working. Hopefully, I fix that tomorrow.
Yeah.
And and I'm gonna and then next weekend, me and Cash Money and it might be a week after. We're gonna do a review of the live action One Piece. We're gonna do a deep dive into that.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna have that on my channel because Krit's the bigger One Piece fan than I am. So
wow.
The Phantom.
The Phantom Hooligans. Yeah.
The Hooligans.
Now, one question I have: when it comes around to the What If series, is that primarily just Star Wars, or do you branch out into other genres?
It can be anything.
Yeah.
It can be Spider-Man, Batman. Bring it up. If you want to narrate it, if you want to write it and narrate it, we can have it on the channel.
Okay. We'll talk.
again, like I want to work on expanding my channel, and as a lot of you, we gotta what ifs. Open secret is that what if videos will get you places.
Ah,
Mhm.
well, I want to go places, so I know where to go. I'm going to use you. I'm going to use you as a stepping stone, Mr. Crit.
He's gonna suck your soul like the Vorlon did, like Kosh did. So yeah.
Yep.
Oh, shit.
Okay, and then of course, last but not least, Chenka Cash Monet.
Monet. So yes, what's coming up on the channel? Well, of course, I'll be on Pop Talk with Mike and Baron tomorrow at 10 my time, and then probably tomorrow, I'm going to start Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. So that's going to be either tomorrow or Monday. But next week, since it didn't happen this week, more Vermintide 2.
Whoa,
So
yeah.
we're going, you know it. You know, we're gonna continue the adventure with the elf and the dwarf. Yeah, I said a dwarf, Phil. Dwarf. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Cash wants to shake his elfin ass around. It's like, look at my butt. Look at my butt. Yeah, that's sexy elf ass there.
And we're going to continue on that, get more gear, so that'll be a lot of fun. If next week we want to also do Broforce Forever, we can do that. But right now, what's coming up on the Phantom Hooligans is Rift Apart. It'll either be tomorrow or it will be Monday. And then during the week, we'll find a day to play Vermintide 2 before the weekend. And so that'll be fun. But other than that, there's no discussion streams, and I'm still working on my Pinhead series. And when I feel the first episode is good enough, then I will release it. So it'll be sooner than later, though. Yes, I've had enough of. I never thought I would get to the point where I just want to look at certain people, certain celebrities, especially, and say, what has happened to you? Like, seriously, you don't need to be like this. You don't need to say these things. Yeah, but whatever.
I think it's truly to say that they have a moron chip malfunction. That's what
they do. They do.
That little chip that keeps them from being a moron, it malfunctions.
And I have this feeling that too many people have put them on pedestals, and then they feel that they definitely have to talk more. And I think if they weren't on that pedestal, maybe they wouldn't talk as much. Then again, maybe they would. So,
well, we put you on a pedestal, so I mean, look what happens there.
Yeah, put you on a pedestal too.
I tell you,
Baron,
done a few times.
We're gonna find Obi, man, and we're gonna have Obi attack you again.
No.
Yeah.
Anybody want an orange cat? And of course, for me myself, obviously, Wednesdays and Sundays, I'll be with Pop Talk with these two gentlemen beside me. Except I don't think you're going to be with us in a couple weeks. But of course, Labor Day weekend. Normally, we would have this going every Saturday, but being that next weekend is Labor Day weekend, the Babylon 5 stream will be postponed till the next week after. That gives me a chance to find pictures. And on Sundays, you can also find me on 24/7 Fusion Media himself for the Primetime Kings of live stream with 24/7 Fusion Media, the Tower of Power himself, the ever mysterious Vigilante Williamson. We can't forget, of course, cruising in on his hot rod from the Hollywood Knights, New Bomb Turk, and myself. We'll be talking there. And then we have just one last thing here. We have a straggler coming in with his turtles. Nerd! DJ Ronnie G, good to see you. Oh, maybe he was watching, listening, but he said his hands were inside a machine. Is it a great machine? The great machine? Are you now in the great machine on Epsilon 3? So that's where you'll be finding me. And of course, if someone grabs me here and there, I'll be showing up there if I know where I'm going to be going. So without that, I do want to sit back and thank those that were in the chat. The old man, thank you for being here. The lovely Leah Rose, the president and sole member of the Phil McCracken fan club. And speaking of which, we have Phil McCracken himself. who was in there, not feeling good. So we're hoping he gets better soon here. You know, that's what happened. He gets a paper cut. He doesn't show up. I tell you, and all this big talk. We had, of course, an Arboreal Life Forum. He came by. And, of course, last but not least, DJ Ronnie G of the Turtle Collective. Good to see you. So, to all of you who might have been lurking, those who will be catching this on what I call the backside, I thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and hope to see you next time. Everybody, have a wonderful, great evening, great week, great Labor Day coming up here, and see you then.